Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast with Kevin Harrington and Seth Greene. Kevin Harrington is the inventor of the infomercial, one of the original sharks from the hit TV show Shark Tank, and has generated over $5 billion in TV and digital direct response sales. Seth Greene is the world's first trusted authority on cutting-edge direct response marketing, a best-selling author, and the only 3-time Marketer of the Year nominee. On the podcast, Kevin and Seth interview Sharkpreneurs who share straight talk on what it takes to explode your business.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com. Welcome to the Sharkpreneur podcast. This is your co-host, Seth Greene. Today I have the good fortune to be joined by Mike Hoffman, otherwise known as Mr. Passive. Mike, thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. So you've got quite an interesting story as to how you pulled this all off. Let's go back in time. How did you get started?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, way back I started with a lemonade stand when I was 12 years old and just kind of had that entrepreneurial DNA as you know better than anyone. And here we are.
Okay, you want to I'm sure there's some other things that happened along the way from lemonade stand to now.
Yeah, so I started my first kind of entrepreneurial path was in real estate. I bought a rental when I was like fresh out of college, classic $70,000 home, and back in the Midwest that rented for $900 and was cash flowing about $300, and then just parlayed that into some other income streams and side hustles, and really got into the world of what I would call unattended retail and modern vending right before COVID in 2018, after traveling a lot in airports and just seeing unhealthy items in the archaic old school vending machines, and just thought there had to be a new way of unattended retail. And I've been down that path ever since.
Awesome. So I got to ask, what inspired you to get your first rental property? I mean, you were pretty young. What inspired you to get your first rental property? Most people that age aren't thinking that way.
Yeah, I was working a job, Seth, that when you work in college athletics, it's a lot of hours. So I was working probably 80, 90 hours, and I realized like this isn't sustainable and I need to make money in other ways, hence the interest in diversification a little bit. And I'd always known like real estate was pretty attractive, and so just took kind of a leap.
Well, congratulations on that. Now, talk to me about, what does unattended retail mean?
Yeah, so if you've ever been into any of these kind of airports, you come down the stairs in the elevator at where it says "Welcome to Las Vegas" in the Las Vegas airport, and there's a 7-Eleven right at the bottom of the escalator. There's no employees there. In fact, you swipe your credit card and the gate opens up. You can go into the little pop-up 7-Eleven and grab whatever you want. There's some AI cameras that watch whatever you grab, and then the gates open back up after you pay. So this kind of whole concept of 24/7 convenience is something that I think is here to stay.
And to be clear, you're not talking about the normal, hey, I just go swipe my debit card and buy candy from a vending machine at my kid's school. You're talking about really the next level of unattended retail. How did you make that leap? How did you figure out that, hey, I don't just want regular, quote unquote, back in the day, 50 cents for a bag of Frito vending machine?
Yeah, so I actually had a apartment complex where we had the traditional vending machine where you put your credit card, you swipe it, you enter in the code, and the spiral spits out a Snickers. And I swapped that out with a smart machine where you put your card on the door unlocks with AI cameras inside, and whatever you grab out of there, it'll charge your card that was used to unlock the door. And our transaction value, same property, just swapped out the machines, increased by 3x. So that property was doing I think $1,000 with the traditional machine and got over to 2 grand with the modern one, just purely off the idea of reducing friction of the process.
Well, that is awesome. And I love that it took up the exact same square footage. What was the first unattended, what was the first one that you did?
Yeah, it was an apartment complex. It was
No, I meant what was the vending thing? Like, was it 7-Eleven? What was it?
it was just a smart machine that had a little bit of everything, mostly snacks, drinks, fresh food, and we're starting to weave in things like laundry pods and Dayquil, NyQuil, things like that.
So awesome, like a mini convenience store. And
Exactly.
then how did you expand from there once you knew you had something that was working?
Yeah, just kind of double down on what works as any entrepreneur. You just kind of reflect on what's working, and so started to go after sister properties and just finding that niche in both businesses, apartment, anywhere with foot traffic. Really, is ultimately we have dance studios and things like that. So, yeah, we just kind of found that little niche, and now, I mean, look at retail, right? Like Walgreens just announced 1,200 stores are closing down. So this whole bringing convenience stores to you concept, I think, is only going to keep growing.
I would agree with that. Am I allowed? You don't have to answer if it's confidential. Am I allowed to ask how many units, how many locations are you up to now?
Yeah, we're over. Oh, geez, we have three more installing on Friday. Well over 50.
Well, that's incredible. So you built a real business.
Yeah. No, it's kind of we're at that phase now where it's like, what got you here is not going to get us there because it's total scale mode.
Yes, you definitely, yes, you got to reinvent the systems every time you get ready for the next level of growth. I know that pain well. What,
Yeah.
how are you getting in the door? At the businesses you're targeting, how are you picking them? Do they already have vending and you're telling them fire those people, replace them with me? Or do they have nothing and you're saying, hey, you should let me put this here?
Yeah, it's a hybrid for sure. We definitely have those that are they don't have anything and they're trying to keep their employees from leaving, going off site during their break, going to the 7-Eleven. And then we have people that have the old school traditional machines that do want a modern solution now.
And then how are you say they want one. Do they know they want a modern solution or are with some convincing them of that?
Um, it's becoming more and more. Oh, awareness is definitely getting there. I mean, you're definitely got way more of a marketing background than me, but I mean, really, it kind of all started with hotels with these grab and go markets, and now we're just really kind of formalizing those in a secure manner that will minimize theft with these smart coolers and smart shelves. So, I think the awareness is kind of from both sides. We lead them there, but they also have an idea.
Awesome. And then what if someone wanted to get into this business, like what type of capital investment they need to get their first, where do they go to get unattended retail, right?
Yeah.
Are there different places that sell it and put you in business? Like how much investment do they need? How does that whole getting started in this business work?
Yeah, that's what really Seth led me to this and to doubling down on this is I didn't have to put down another 20% every time as like I did with my real estate properties. So with these companies, a lot of them will do minimal down payments, like just like a car dealership. Do you want to finance it over 60 months or do you want to pay cash up front? And so we do a lot of financing and then using the cash flow, the recurring monthly revenue to pay it off within a year. But there's all kinds of websites. We do have like my free community I've broken down. I mean, you can go to Google and type in micro markets or unattended retail, and you're going to get hit by 10 different companies. So there's all kinds of websites. But if folks are interested in kind of learning what those options are, we do have a free community. They can find me on Twitter, wherever, and go to that community where I do a breakdown of that.
Awesome. That segues into my next question was, since you've done this a while and it's worked, are you now teaching it, educating other people how to do the same thing?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. And going and negotiating a lot of national purchasing power. So even not just on the machine side where you these people get discounts to machines and stuff, but also on the product side. So we built out entire Vend Hub, which is like an Amazon for vending snacks and fresh food and convenience items, where we've gone to these big suppliers and negotiated national purchasing power.
That's awesome. Your passion is obvious. What do you like best about what you're doing?
Oh man, Seth, you're putting me on the spot. I think just the entrepreneurial kind of game. Every day's a new challenge, as you know, like you wake up and you don't know what fire you're going to have to put out that wasn't on your calendar. But to me, being a former athlete, competition's always a driver. And I just feel like whether it's intrinsic or extrinsic, like being an entrepreneur is very similar to being an athlete.
Absolutely. I am reading a book right now called Elevate, all about training as an entrepreneur and the comparables to being training like an athlete, and why we need to adopt more from the competitive athletes, because we don't train for one game that's once a week on Sunday. We play all day, every day.
Exactly. That's right.
You've achieved so much success now. What's your biggest challenge?
What keeps me up at night is I never want to be the bottleneck for our team. I'm a huge believer in you should enable your team to thrive and kind of take their ideas and run with the framework. And so my biggest challenge is always just making sure I'm not the bottleneck for them to really take this thing to newer heights.
You mentioned team a couple times. Can you talk, because obviously it started out as just you. Can you talk
Yeah.
talk a little bit about the team that you have working with you now?
Yeah, so we have operators that run our vending routes. That's really big for me because I want that to be just as it's like hiring a property manager for real estate. I want it to be as passive as possible. So, our operators are huge cogs in our engine to ultimately run the operation. And then, on the coaching side, I think every one of our vendingpreneurs that we help scale their routes is a teammate, and what can we do to help them be successful?
I heard a term in there that I wasn't familiar with, vendingpreneur.
Yeah, that's our community. Yep.
I like it.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to share that I haven't thought to ask you yet?
No, I think Seth, I'm just grateful to be on here, and I've been a big fan of what you guys have been putting out content wise for a while. So I love when you continue to bring people on, just learn from, and grateful to be on here myself.
Awesome. Well, we're grateful to have you. This has been Seth Greene with Mike Hoffman from MrPassive.com. Mike, thanks again for joining us.
So thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks everybody for watching or listening. We'll talk to you or see you next time.
Why do so many businesses struggle while others seem to explode overnight? Do you wish you had the secret to this type of exponential growth? Now, I've scaled more than 20 businesses to over $100 million, and it's not just luck. In my new book with Mark Tim, Mentor to Millions, you'll learn the repeatable framework I use in all my business ventures for massive success. Order at kevinmentor.com and get over $1,000 in bonuses. Head to kevinmentor.com.